Can you think without words? Imagine your mind stripped of language. No inner voice, no vocabulary, no grammar. Would thoughts still exist, or would silence fill the space where ideas once lived? This question isn't just a puzzle for philosophers. It's a doorway into understanding what thought really is, and whether language is the tool we use to think, or the prison that limits us. For most of us, thinking feels like an endless conversation with ourselves. We hear phrases in our heads. We argue silently. We rehearse what we'll say before we speak. That's why it's easy to believe that language and thought are inseparable. But if that were true, how could infants or animals who can't speak our language show intelligence, solve problems, or even form bonds with us? Something deeper must be at play. Consider this. A chess grandmaster can look at a board and instantly see the right move, without narrating every possibility in words. A musician can feel where the next note should go, guided not by sentences, but by patterns and emotions. A painter can imagine a whole picture in silence, long before touching the canvas. Thought, in these cases, seems to flow beneath the level of language. Neuroscience backs this up. The brain processes images, sounds, and sensations long before attaching words to them. Visual areas fire when we recall memories, motor regions activate when we imagine movement, and emotions surge before we can describe them. Words often arrive after the fact, like captions on top of an already unfolding movie. But here's the twist. Language doesn't just describe thought, it shapes it. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, for example, suggests that the structure of a language can influence how its speakers perceive reality. If your language has no future tense, like in some indigenous tongues, do you experience time differently? If your language divides colors into many shades, do you literally see more distinctions than someone whose language lumps them together? It sounds abstract, but it's real. Studies show that Russian speakers, who have separate words for light blue and dark blue, can distinguish shades faster than English speakers. In other words, language sharpens certain aspects of thought, while leaving others blurry. Which means, what we can't say might be something we can't even fully think. Yet humans also think in images, symbols, and feelings. Imagine being caught in a breathtaking sunset. The rush of awe and stillness you feel doesn't need translation. Or think of a gut instinct that tells you someone is lying. You sense it, but you can't explain why until later. These are forms of thinking that bypass words entirely. So, can we think without language? Yes, but the thoughts may take a different form. They might be visual, emotional, or intuitive. The real mystery is whether those non-verbal thoughts are as precise or as transferable as linguistic ones. Because language is what allows us to share, refine, and expand on our private experiences. Without it, thought might be vivid but locked inside, unable to spread beyond a single mind. Philosophers like Ludwig Wittgenstein even argued that the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. In his view, words don't just express thought, they fence off what can be known. If you don't have a word for a concept, does that concept exist for you at all? It's unsettling, because it suggests that reality itself might be filtered through the grid of vocabulary we happen to inherit. But there's another way to see it. Language may set limits, but it also expands horizons. Each word we learn gives us a new handle on reality. Words like gravity, democracy, or anxiety didn't always exist for us as individuals. Once we acquired them, our world became larger, richer, more connected. Language is both a boundary and a bridge. Now pause for a second and imagine this. What if aliens existed but used no spoken language, only complex visual patterns or telepathic sensations? Could we ever truly understand them? Or would we be trapped in our own linguistic framework, forever guessing at what lies beyond? It's a chilling reminder that even our ability to think about thinking is limited by the words we have. And yet, hope remains. Language may not capture everything, but silence, music, art, and emotion remind us that meaning goes beyond words. A parent and child can lock eyes and understand love without saying a thing. Two strangers can share a laugh over something absurd without exchanging a single sentence. Perhaps thought without language isn't emptiness. It's the raw material of meaning, waiting for us to shape it. In the end, maybe the question isn't whether we can think without language, but how far we can go beyond it. Can we expand our minds to embrace intuition, imagery, and silence alongside words? Can we use language as a tool without letting it become a cage? The paradox is this: words may never capture the full essence of thought, but without them, we may never know how much there is to capture. So the next time you find yourself lost in thought, ask yourself, are you really speaking to yourself? Or are you glimpsing something wordless, something deeper? And if so, what might it mean about the true nature of the mind? What do you think? Leave a comment with your take, even if you disagree. Hit that like button if this gave you something to think about. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss future explorations. Share this with someone who loves asking big questions. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here.